yesterday we talked about scheduling, guys, and we said in order to be a successful project manager, Derek, you must have a plan. Your plan will require you to have a team, and the team is required to have a schedule. And the schedule is nothing other than assigning resources and time to certain tasks and objectives and activities, right? You guys remember that? Now, the next step after you have the schedule, and we said you guys can have a Microsoft schedule, the Gantt chart. You can have boxes like this, or you can have arrows or nodes and different ways of representing the schedule. What you guys are looking at when you have your schedule or your nodes like these, or your flow chart for your project, what we don't do a lot this we don't do this a lot, guys, in the electrical construction, not that I know of. Probably Derek, you ask your manager if he does any so-called network analysis and duration estimate on any of their projects. Typically we don't do it. It's nice to know that it's done on major projects. 3M, Mayo Clinic, all these big boys, big manufacturers, when they want to introduce new product to the industry, guys, they go through all this network analysis to make sure that their product is on time, within budget, and all this good stuff. So that's why I want to introduce this one, so FYI only. So let's talk a little bit, guys. So when you have I have this one here for you. So it's called network analysis and duration. So what you do, all the tasks, if you guys see all the tasks that you have, here's all your tasks and activities. Here's a project that we need to start, Derek. The start of the project, we have activity 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, all these guys, all the way up to activity 15. Can you guys see that? Everybody's good, Adam? So up to activity 15 right here, from activity number 1, these are the activities that you need to complete this project, the activities that you need to complete these projects. These activities are tied together in this network, So in order to, for example, the example that they're using in the book, activity number 1, if you guys look at this project, activity number 1, it looks like performing production requirement analysis. So at 1, activity number 1, Karen, the activity is called performing production requirement. Activity number 2, so that's you start doing the performing analysis. Then activity number 2, it says select and lease a building. So after you perform a production requirement analysis, you have to select the building. Anyway, so if you guys look at activity number 1, activity number 2, you can see how these activities are tied together into start. Any comments, guys, about this way of the flow chart to representing your project? Any comments, any questions before everybody understand that one? This is like Gantt chart, Adam, a Gantt chart. So each activity is assigned. Then what they do for each activity, and we'll talk about this one, guys, they assign a duration, and I picked that one for you. So let's go and assign. The first number that they assign is called EPS. This number here, this activity, guys, right here. This is called the earliest possible start time for the activity, EPS. So activity number 1, Karen, is going to start at 0 week right away, Ryan. Then Adam, activity, then earliest possible finish time and the duration. So the activity number 3 here, guys, it's the duration. That's how long it will take you. So this is, they call it DUR. And the last one here is activity number 3. This is basically the earliest possible finish time, which is EPF, the earliest possible finish time. Any comments, guys, about these numbers for each activity? Matt, if I get you activity number 1, it's going to start at week 0, right on the spot, right? It will take 3 weeks to finish, and the earliest possible finish time is going to be 3 weeks from today. 3 weeks from today. So that's how they do. They assign the earliest, the duration for each activity, the earliest start for the activity, and how long, and the earliest possible finish for the activity. The earliest start for the activity, the earliest possible finish for the activity, and the duration. Any comments, guys? Any questions? I know it sounds like complicated, but instead of all these are activities, Adam. So in order to do activity number 2, you have to go activity number 1. For us, like a project, you have to meet with the customers before you start. Activity number 1 will be meeting with the customers. Activity number 2, coming up with the sketch for your project, right? So these are the activities. The duration, we'll talk about how do you come up with the duration. So that's what I wanted to do, and I know it's getting into the network analysis. Then these guys, the earliest, what they call it, the earliest possible finish time equal the duration, of course, the earliest possible start plus the duration, which is DUR. So Derek, to give you an example of this, guys, so if you take the earliest possible finish time for this activity right here, equals 0 plus 3, which is equal 3. So 3 weeks. Each one of these guys are a week. Any comments, any questions? One more time. I know we're getting into the itty-bitty with it, guys. Each activity, Adam, each activity is assigned the earliest possible start time and the duration. When can you start it in the project? Week 1, week 2, week 3, when? So this activity, guys, will start at week 0, and it will assign the duration of 3 weeks. Am I making sense? Easy. Duration of 3 weeks. If it starts at week 0, right at the beginning, guys, and it needs 3 weeks to finish, Derek, then you can tell the earliest possible finish for this activity is actually 3, right? Because you take the 0 plus 3 equal 3. That's how they assign these kind of magic numbers that you're looking at. I'm going to take one more activity, Adam. Look at this activity right here. Now then, the second activity, guys, start at 3. Can you guys see that 3? So can I have your attention, guys, for a second? So activity number 6 here, which is tied to activity number 1. In order to move to activity number 6 or task number 6, you have the earliest possible start. The earliest possible start has to be 3 weeks because you can't finish this one, right? You have to finish activity 1 to start activity 6. That's the Gantt chart, guys. Remember when we're still linking them? So that's why this is 3. So if you do the analysis on that one, the EPF for this particular activity equal 3 plus 1 equal 4. It's just great math. So activity number 6 right here, it's going to start at week 3, Adam. It's going to take 1 whole week to finish it, and then the earliest possible finish time is at week 4 from the start of the project. And you can look at each and every one of these activities, guys, the same way. Each and every one of these activities the same way. Each activity is assigned a earliest possible start time, duration, as well as earliest possible finish time. Why this is so important, guys, and I know a little bit, this is probably above the level of the construction that we do, but it's really nice to know that, because if you finish it, a lot of project, guys, if you finish ahead of time, there's rewards for you to finish the project ahead of time, your project. And definitely, if you don't finish on time, within budget on time, there's a penalty for you if you don't finish within budget on time, right? Especially if you don't finish within on time. So this will allow you, Adam and Derek, to always guarantee that you will finish on time within budget, even before, and then by analyzing the path that leads you. So here's point. Do you guys remember when I was talking about point A? You want to go to point A, start the project, into point B, finish the project within budget, on time. And then you have a path in between to lead you from point A to point B. All these paths is full of activities and objectives and goals that will lead you to go from point A to point B, the least resistive path, which is the most, the easiest, the shortest, and the most productive path for you to go from point A to point B. Point A, Karen, is having a hospital. Point B is delivering a complete, finished, successful project by building the hospital. Am I making sense, Derek? Does that make sense? So I'm not going to look at all of them, guys. You can see each one of them. Look at this. This activity 3 start at week 0. It takes 5 weeks to finish, and then the earliest possible finish is 5, because 0 plus 5 is 5. Look at this activity here. This activity, Adam, activity number 14, start at week 25 of the project. It takes 10 weeks to finish, so 25 plus 10 equals 35. The earliest possible finish for this activity is 35. Am I making sense, guys? How they have an activity, and each activity, you guys did this with Microsoft Project. You guys did it with Microsoft Project without knowing it. That's the linking that we were doing, Karen, in Microsoft Project. Remember, we're doing a lot of linking in Microsoft Project? That's what you were looking at. First, you assign when are you going to start this activity, what's the duration for this activity, right? And that will decide when this activity is going to be done. When this activity is going to be done. So, Derek, if you look here, my friend, the last activity to get this project here, can you guys see the last activity is going to start at week 42. It's going to take 10 weeks, and finally, the project will be done in 52 weeks. So, to build the hospital, Adam, from starting at 0 week from the beginning all the way, it will take us 52 weeks to build this hospital. Of course, it takes more than that, but any comments, guys? Any questions about network? This is what they call network. Any comments, any questions about the network? Can I have a nod or something that makes sense? This is the Gantt chart, basically, you're looking at. Okay, so each activity, guys, is assigned an earliest possible start time, duration, earliest possible finish time. This is the relationship between them. Now, Adam, my friend, your job and my job, basically, is to make sure this number, can you guys see this number? I'm going to highlight it again. Can you guys see this number, the finish time? The finish time, 52. Your job is to make this 52 as short as possible so you can throw your product in the market as soon as you can. Any comments, guys? Any questions? I'm going to get back to the critical path in a second. But this is what they call it, network. So the network analysis, you put your network, you put your equivalent to the Gantt chart, right? This is equivalent to the Gantt chart, what we did yesterday, if you guys remember. So we got that one. Okay, so that was 9. So that's what we got. We talked about, guys, yesterday about the box analysis and the node analysis and all this good stuff. Let me see here what we called it. Okay. Activity on nodes, activity on errors. These are activity nodes or activity boxes, what you're looking at right here. So these are all the activities assigned the finish and start time and duration. Any comments, any question before I go into how do you come up with the duration? Now the question, Adam, you assigned this at 3 weeks. How did you assign the 3 weeks for this? How did you come up with the 3 weeks for it? It's okay to come up with the activity. I gave you guys Microsoft project for, you developed the Microsoft project for the industrial project, right? I gave you the activities that you need to do to finish the project, right? So first, how do you come up with the activity? Well, you know your industry, right? That's what you typically have a team, and you divide them in a team, have objective goals, objective task, activities, right? Then you need to assign a time for each one of these activities. So I'll get back to this one, guys, in a second. Let's talk a little bit about estimate project duration. How do you estimate project duration, Adam? There's a different ways, and I'm going to focus on a few things, basically. When you estimate the project duration, Karen, you're looking at the duration of a project. The most important thing is experience, right? You have done 15 hospitals. You know how long will it take them to rough the patient room, critical area, right? So experience, guys, the experience of the project, that's a major thing. The second thing that you can do to estimate it is historic data. Historic data, guys, that's what create experience. Historically, there's means and all these books that can get you guys historically a building this type, a system in this building this type has been built and this duration. Does that make sense, Derek? Assigning a duration for the activity that you do. So experience, historic data. If all hell breaks loose, we have resources. We have modeling. You can model the activities and assign them together, so come up with a value. We have experiments. You experiment with them, break down and roll up. So you take that task into little tasks, guys, break it down, assign a time, and then roll that task all up to get you the activity duration. There's a couple of methods, guys. I want to save you through that one. Delphi method is called consultants. You have consultants that can tell you how long will it take you to do this. Three outside estimates. You do an estimate or ranging. Or you do ranging. So anyway, these are the book, guys. It goes into in details, Karen. How do you come up with the duration for the project? So now, Derek, you guys are doing estimating for me, right? So for us, typically, for the most part, we experience and historic data. That's what we do. And can you add Accubit to it? Isn't that Accubit? That's where your modeling is. For us, modeling. When you do modeling, I have a software that can tell you I assign half an hour for each fixture, and if my hour is 69 an hour, I can tell you how long will it take you to install this fixture. Modeling. You have a software. Within the software, our estimating software can give us the duration for this project, guys. If each one of these fixture, guys, is half an hour, I have 10 of them. Now I'm looking at 5 hours, right? Am I driving into your brain, guys, that the duration of the project is a major thing? You're given Microsoft project, they give you how long will it take. In a real life, guys, you're going to depend on the experience, historic data, model, estimating software, experts, research. So these are all different methods, Adam, of coming up with the estimate project duration. And you never ever estimate the project by, okay, how long will it take you a hospital? Well, 8 months to build it. That's historic data. But typically, to come up with the 8 months, guys, to build a hospital, right, or a year, they divide it into little tasks. Remember the task and the activities, and they assign for each task and activity, guys, it's assigned a duration, exactly like the network they were looking at. Can you guys see that, right? That network that we were just looking at. What am I, Chad? Here you go. So here's my activities, Adam. These activities, I divide them based on historic data. To start the project, it takes 3 weeks, right? Based on this type of project, historic data, or from McCormick or what. So they get these numbers. Am I making sense, guys, where you get these numbers? Then you plug them for each activities. And then add them up, and at the end, you end up with 52 weeks to finish this project. 52 weeks to finish this project. Gentlemen and ladies, any comments, guys? Any questions about that one? The duration of the project. The duration of the project. That's so important, guys. We take our project. We have a goal for it. The goal is divided into objective. The objective are divided into tasks. The tasks are divided into activities. For each activity, we assign the earliest possible start time and the duration based on experience, and then adding that duration to the earliest possible start time will give you the earliest possible finish time, so-called the earliest possible finish time. Any comments, my friends? Any questions? Any comments, any questions about this? Adam, cool? Makes sense? Yes? Okay, so these are what we call the earliest. There's two terms. I'm going to spare you guys doing the network analysis and the duration. There's a lot of probabilities, and when we talk about the probabilities and network analysis, Karen, we're talking about NASA engineers, guys, coming with a prototype for a new product. Did you guys hear me? So NASA engineers, we are construction. Highly unlikely you're not going to end up. What's the new prototype you're going to come up when you build a hospital? I mean, everything has been done. There's minimum amount of invention in what we do, or application. So be aware of that. But the network analysis, there are two terms that they use with them. One is called CPM versus PERT, network guys analysis. And the PERT, Program Evaluation and Review Techniques, that stands for. And CPM, critical path method. They call it critical path method, what you're looking at right here. And then they assign a probability value for each activities, and they come up with a duration based on the possibilities and probabilities and what's not. So your friend Chad is gonna, I'm gonna spare you guys the, that thing, the analysis on that one. So any comments, any questions? But these are how you analyze the network. Analyze your critical path, CPM, critical path method, which you're looking at critical path method. We're going to look at it in a second. So we take every activities item, we assign a minimum start time or minimum possible start time for it, and the duration, and the earliest, not minimum, the earliest possible finish time for each one of them. You break it down and add them up. So we got that one. And then this analysis, Derek, will get you into something called critical path. Critical path. What is a critical path? So when you build, when you guys want to build the building, right? And you give it to the customer. Remember, yesterday, Matt, I said that we, the electrical, are only 10% of that big pie that's called construction, design construction. We're 10%. So the project manager, guys, the project manager, the general contractor, the general contractor have their own project manager. They're looking at you as one critical path. So they put all our analysis in the big picture, all that 10%, right? That's electrical. That's where electrical is going to fit. Now, and then they look at it. Is the electrical going to hold us from finishing the project in 2 years, this stadium in 2 years, right? They analyze the electrical path and all the mechanical path and the structural and everything else. And they said, you know what? The one that's going to force us to go 52 weeks instead of 42 weeks is the electrical. That path, guys, there becomes so-called the critical path. It's holding us. That's it. You need the one that gives me the longest period to finish the project. Okay, so here's your critical path. Path that will determine, by definition, Adam, a critical path is defined the path that determines the length of the project. That's, you have multiple paths, guys. For example, you guys, 4 of you. If I said we're doing this project, right? And I said, Matt, you're doing power. Adam, you're doing lighting. Derek, you're doing low voltage. And Karen, you're putting the project together, right? So Karen is sitting right there, and Karen needs 10, each one of you needs 10 weeks to finish it, except Derek, to finish his low voltage, he needs 20 weeks. Now Derek becomes the critical path because the project has to go, you guys will finish in 10 weeks, right? You give it to Karen. Karen is waiting there. She can't finish her work until his 20 weeks finish. That becomes the critical path. It takes longer to do it. Am I making sense? The critical path is the path of all the activities that decides the length of the project. We have to sit there for an extra week. She has to sit there after you guys are done for an extra 10 weeks waiting for Mr. Derek here to finish his work. Am I making sense? Does that make sense? So now, knowing this, Derek, knowing that you need 20 weeks, what do you think as a project manager would you do? If you know that you need 2 weeks to finish the project, think about it. And each one of them is 10. What would you do? Come up with a solution. Now remember, you have resources that you can utilize. Yeah. What would you do? How about adding another person to work with you? That's how relieving, they call it relieving the critical path. I know that the critical path is going right through you because you need the longest to do it. Now, as a project manager, when I draw that, I say, well, he's overloaded. In order to cut the project length by 10 weeks, what if I go double him, clone him? I can't clone you, so what I can do, I can hire another person, make and split your path in between, 50-50 between you and another person. Am I making sense, guys? They call this is relieving the critical path. Okay, so that's your critical path. It's considered critical, like I said, for several reasons. It has no slack on it. No slack, you have to finish it. Its activities must be immediately, must start immediately when its processor is finished and consume not more than allocated time. So it's critical, no slack in it, no time. Delay of any critical path activities will delay the project, the entire project. A critical path, he stops right there and hold your 10 weeks and you make 12 weeks, you basically screw up the project. So that's what a critical path is. Let me show you the critical path in this game, guys, in this network. Okay, Adam, look at these paths. Can you guys see it? We talked about these one. I have one path that's going this way. I have another path that's going this way. And I have also, this is splitting this way. Look at all the paths that lead to the project. Is this going this way? Yep. All these are paths leading to the project, right? So here's Derek. No, not here is Matt coming through this path, giving it to Karen to finish her. She's waiting. Karen needs 10 weeks to finish her stuff. Then here's Adam coming from here, giving his lighting, waiting. And guess who's screwing up the whole project, Derek? So here's the critical path. The critical path, guys, when you draw them like this, look at this. Here's this. In order to finish, I need 35 weeks here. In order to finish this one, I need 29 weeks. In order to finish this one, I need 33 weeks. In order to finish this activity, I need how many weeks? Matt? 39. So just by looking at it, which path you think is the critical? The one that takes longer, right? The one that takes longer. This path right here, because it takes to finish everything and giving it to Karen here in order to process it and give it here to whatever, it takes the longest to finish. It takes the longest to finish, right? So actually from here, and if you, this one is also going, I'm sorry, going to this, you're going to look at it all the way up to this point. So this is, it will take you look, if you look at the 35, 29, this path is going 42. Here's the critical. This is the critical. 42, I have 29 and 35. This needs 42. Okay, the 42 are coming either from 33 or from 39. So which one is going to decide that this will be my critical path? The 39, because the 39 is coming right here. Can you guys see that? The 39? 39 came from here. Add 3 to it, becomes 42. This is, gentlemen, my critical path. So when you have a network like this, Derek, and they have a lot of software that analyze this network, and believe it, guys, this is all science by itself. By looking at them, the path that has the longest amount of hours becomes your critical path. Any comments, guys? Any questions about the critical path? Now, when you identify, Adam, the critical path, your job as a project manager is to relieve this critical path. So here's what I can do. Can you guys see this activity is taking 30? This activity takes 10 weeks. 10 weeks. Now, Derek, come up with a brilliant idea of finishing this. What if I split this one into 2, right? Here's 5 weeks here. So then, and 5 here and 5 here. Still 5 and leading. So now, this is this, because I split the work into 2, guys, and instead of this activity taking 10 weeks, if I can, I add another person, designer on the project. I cut it by half. So now, this path went from 30, from what is it, 29 plus 10, 39. This is 29 plus 5, 30, 34. This went to 34. So now the project went 5 days less. Now my project right here, guys, I make this one, and my project went 5 days less, so that will get me 30 to 37. So 37 days, which at 10, it becomes 47. I can deliver the project in 47 versus 52 days, Adam, by relieving that critical path. The more parallel paths you have, guys, the better. So if you have a task that takes longer than any other task, a good idea with the project manager, that's what they do it all the time, guys, when you're overloaded. That's called overload. When you're overloaded, what do? They relieve you. They bring another designer or estimator with you. Why? Because if they don't, there are 2 things could happen. If you don't, you either have to go overtime, and then you have to charge more in some projects. Then you could exceed the budget allocated to you, or you have to take longer, Adam. If you take longer, and that will screw up the duration of the project. Either way, guys, if the critical path takes longer, it's going to screw up the duration of the project. Or if you have to work overtime in the weekends and what's not, and charge more, charge more. Which some of, like, if you're doing it construction, what happened if construction, Derek, if you're bringing the electricians on Sunday and Saturday, you're going to pay an arm and leg for those guys. Now you have to take into consideration. So instead of doing that, the overtime that make you pay more, or allow them longer time, which screw up the duration of your project and get penalized, what they do is have more support. So, or one idea in our industry is to have more support. Any comments, any question, guys, about the critical path? Any comments? So Karen, from this point right here, I will draw the critical path. Can you guys see it comes from here? This becomes my critical path that I have to pay attention to, because it will decide the duration of this project. This is the path that's going to take the longest, and it will decide the duration of the project. So that's in terms of duration, Adam. Also in terms of dollars, if a path that can give you, if one path can give you 50% of the project dollar-wise, that I pay a lot of attention to this. You know, that can make or break. If another path can give you 5%, there's a path that 5% dollar-wise of my project. Well, maybe I don't give it too much attention. So it will decide, critical, guys. It can make or break your project. Any comments, ladies and gentlemen, any questions about the critical path? This is, Adam, what they call network analysis and duration estimate. So what we did, guys, is just to summarize, each activity, we divide our project into activities, right? And if you guys remember, here's the activity A that Chad had been, here's B that we were dealing with, and this is where you have your plan, and here's your fluctuation. Remember that fluctuation going on? But now take this path, Adam, and it becomes going from point A to point B, detailed in a network by dividing all these goals that you have, guys, which is a successful project, which is in budget, right? Within budget, on time, happy internal and external customers. That's what we thought define our project. When you analyze it, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen, you have to put it in a network like this by dividing it into each goal is divided into objective into tasks into activities. Activities are assigned a dollar value and a duration and a resources. A dollar value, a duration, and resources. And then you put it in a network like this, and the one that decides the duration of the project, or could be also how much the project, the majority of the dollars is spent in the project, that will get your full attention, Derek. And people do it. If you go to your supervisor right now, Derek, and tell him about this, they might know nothing about it. But believe it or not, they might. I'm not saying they do. They might. But you know what the challenge is? They all do it without knowing it. You know, don't you think when they watch you and you're taking longer, that they call it overload? You're overloaded. You're a critical path. That's just a different term for critical. Overloaded. I'm overloaded. So what you go to your boss, you said, I'm overloaded, need help. I need help. You are the critical path. So your supervisor is smart enough to go and give you help. Most of supervisors, almost all of them, you have to give them, or you know, you have to be allocated more time to work on a project or whatever. Any comments, guys? Any questions about so-called network analysis? I can't emphasize how important this one, guys. In terms of at least analyzing the paths and the tracks that you have. So CPM, or so-called analysis, this is the CPM analysis, critical path method. This is called critical path method. And there are softwares, guys, that can do that. And there's, my God, there's, they go even deeper than this, and I'm not going to go, they allow, if you're building an airplane, they use this for building airplanes, guys, not just for car. Here's start of building that airplane, here's the finish, the product. Can you believe how many activities and the duration and the dollar value assigned to every single component of building an airplane? Can you imagine the amount of that? And now we're going to go buy a piece of equipment. This piece of equipment has to come from China, and I cannot get it. It takes 1 week. No way on earth I can get it less than 1 week. That's critical. If I get it for more, if I can get it for less, great. But 1 week allocated. So that's where the duration becomes a big deal, guys. So earliest possible start, duration, earliest possible finish. These are terminology, very easy, guys. But very, very important. Any comments, guys? Any questions? So this is your plan, and then Microsoft Project, guys, call this schedule a Gantt chart, and then this is what you plan for. Then the actual, you start filling the actual in it. You can see then, well, this task took 3 weeks. I assigned the 3 weeks for it, Adam. I was able to do it in 2 weeks. Go getters, great. Now we're above. This I assigned a week for it. It took a week and a half. Oops. Keep an eye on it. You know what I mean? And then you keep an eye on the duration of this part of the project, guys, in order. Ultimately, guys, this project is going to take 52 weeks. You do not want to go more than 50 weeks because you get penalized, right? They get penalized. You go to the general contractor, they give you 4 months to finish, guys, and a date to deliver a finished product. and you tell them, well, I can't finish it, what's going to happen? They give you a penalty, or next time we will be hired on the project. So there's a lot, unless there's something, well, we have a hurricane, or you know what I mean. And in the contract, guys, most of the contracts included war. I don't know if you ever read the contract. They said this contract is valid, but exclude wars and natural disasters. And because you're delivering something, you don't know if there's going to be a tornado hit your plant or whatever. So they excluded natural and man-made disasters in all these contracts that they do. But if there's no tornado or no man-made disaster, uh, and you're expected to deliver, buddy. Or strikes. Sometimes what they do, Derek, they exclude labor strikes because labor strike in the past have screwed up certain projects. So they exclude this one from their contract. It's a big deal, guys, when you become a project manager. You're dealing with contracting and the language that you put in contract because you could be screwed up. Legally, you sign certain things that are liable for tons of money. So any comments, guys? Any questions? Any comments? Any questions about so-called network analysis? So-called network analysis and duration estimate. So project is divided into you put goal for your project is divided into tasks. Tasks have activities, and the activities typically is assigned a start, minimum, earliest possible start time, the duration, and the earliest possible finish time. You keep track of these values. At the end, they give you the duration of your project. Same thing for the dollar value, guys. Same thing for dollars. Each activity is assigned a dollar value, and at the end, they will tell you that's how much it's going to cost the project. That's what you're doing with me, Accurate and McCormick. Is that what you're doing? You're assigning all these activities, all the stuff that's going to go in the project, and at the end, they will give you a dollar value for the whole project and a duration, as a matter of fact. So that's I don't know if I missed anything. That's basically, guys, the need for. And then we talked about identifying the critical path. So after you identify the critical path, guys, you need to relieve the critical path. So you need to do a lot of so when you have a critical path, there's something called relieve the critical path. Select line of defense, sharpen your pencils. So there's different ways, guys. And third line of defense is called crashing activities. When you have a critical path, you need to rearrange. When you look at the whole network, Derek, you need to rearrange it in a way where you don't put more resources into it, if you can. Yeah, right. If you can. If you can't, make the people work. So rearrange it in a way where you don't need more duration, more resources, or more time. Or ask the people to speed up a little bit, sharpen your tools, they call it. Or they call the last thing to solve it is called crashing activities. Crashing activities, now you're going to pump money into it. Can you guys see that? I decided, Adam, that this is my critical path, and this activity right here is deciding the length of my project. Now I can go talk to the people so I can speed them up a little bit. Can you guys do it instead of, what is it? It's on 10 weeks. Can you guys do it in 8 weeks, 7 weeks? Can I rearrange these activities in a way? Can I take some of this activity, give it to this path so they can split it? You guys you were doing power, and Adam was doing lighting, right? Can I give you some of the lighting to do, split it into a different path so it shortened the duration? And if all hell breaks loose, guys, the last option, I can't make you work harder. I can't split the activities into another path, so relieve that path. The last one is to pump money and resources into it. Derek, because you were the obstacle 20 weeks, I'm going to go hire or assign another individual on this project and split the activities by half. Now there's dollar value assigned to that individual. So you have to pump money and resources in order to relieve that path. That will guarantee you reach the destination. So these are the activities that they use to relieve the project, my friends. Any comments, any questions? Gentlemen, ladies, any comments, guys, any questions about that? So that's really what this chapter talks about, network analysis. There are a lot of software that can do this and assign a dollar value and what's not for each one of them, guys. So erase that one. Any comments, guys? Any questions about this? Any comments? Any questions? At the first, first time you look at it, Adam, I don't know if you guys can see how, look at the 5 here, 5, and then the 25 carry as a 25, the 35 carry here. You take the largest of the 3. So here's my 3 here. I need a 3 weeks. Can you guys see how? And then it becomes 8 here, and you take the largest of the 2, for this activity. So if I have 2 activities, you guys are going to do power, you're going to do lighting. You take 20 weeks, you take 2 weeks, and you're going to give it to me, right? You take 2 weeks, you take 1 week. My start had to take 2 weeks, not 1 week. This is what you're looking at. And ultimately, my friends, the critical path, you're looking at it right in here, because it decides the, like I said, look at the 29 here, 42, and here's the 10, and here's what it adds to the end of the project. I don't know if you see the end of the duration for each activity. This is my critical path, going from here all the way to here. So what do you do with this, Adam? You relieve that thing. Split either by asking the people to sharpen your tools, work harder. Let's do some of these activities, any of these activities for this time, reduce it a little bit, or you can split it, take some of the time and put it in another path. So here's what is that? 8 weeks. I'm going to take 10 weeks here. I'm going to take 5 weeks and put them with this guy. Split them into different paths. Or if this doesn't work, you have to pump resources into it. Dollar value, resources, people working for you. So that's my friend, the network analysis in its simplest form, without getting into too much details and boring you. Any comments? Any questions? Any comments, guys? Any questions about that? And I wanna emphasize, guys, just to tell you, Adam, what number 14 here. Let me just read number 14 for you. That's an activity, and the activity is number 14 here is an interview and select personnel. That number 14 is an activity. 14 is an activity called I have to interview and select personnel. It will take me how many? I can see that. To interview right here. Activity 14, it will take how many? 10 weeks to do interviews for personnel. One last thing and then I'll let you guys go. Activity number 4. Let's look at activity number 4 here. That takes 20 weeks. What the heck is that activity? It's taking 20 weeks, Adam. Activity number 4, it's a relocate the manager. You're going to relocate the manager. Activity number 4. And it's going to take, how long will it take? 20 weeks to relocate the manager. Who decided that it's going to take 20 weeks, not 10? We're just talking about historic data, experience, resources, Accubed, and any of these software that decide the duration. Any comments, my friends? Any questions about this? Is it exciting, Karen? No, not really too much. Yeah. Matt, what do you think? Is this something that you see yourself doing? Like I said, this is the last couple of chapters, Derek. This particular one is not really directly related, but you have to understand the critical path. That's called overload. That's all. If you guys are to come and do a bachelor, some of you who don't have bachelor in project management, they go into a lot of details into things like this. So for the time being, your friend Chad is going to stop right here. Comments, questions, my friends? So that's all I have for you guys, chapter 9. We'll next week, Adam, we'll talk about the last 3 chapters, managing resources and what's not. And I cannot emphasize, guys, very nice book like this, Practical Project Management, will give you, in addition to your AS degree that you have in the design and the estimation, gives you, hopefully, one day it'll give you an edge. If you become a project manager, you go to a lot of other training, guys. We talked about, forming the teams and challenges and change and make the people buy into things. There's a people thing. So, okay, that's all I have for you. Thank you.